Power makes the world go round, and it's hard to imagine our modern society without it. But most of that power still comes from burning fossil fuels, which many people believe is a major contributor to global warming. So, what are the alternatives?
The biggest supply of sustainable power comes from the sun. And one way of harnessing its energy is by using these solar panels. And they can be as small and compact as this mobile phone charger, or you can get some serious whoppers.
This is the world's biggest solar power plant, and it's been built in Portugal. It's made up of 52,000 photovoltaic modules, covering an area the size of 145 football pitches. It cost £40 million to build, and it generates enough juice to supply 8,000 homes.
Now we want to know what's inside them and how they work. Now we've got a photovoltaic panel here.
And over here, a solar thermal panel.
And true to form, Johnny's going to cut them up with a grinder.
It's a little-known fact that Albert Einstein received his Nobel Prize not for the theory of relativity, but for the work he did on photoelectrics, the science behind solar panels. But it's only relatively recently that the technology has improved to the point where it's now viable to use solar panels for large-scale power production. There we have it.
Nice cutting.
Sliced in two. What can we see?
Well, not a lot. This solar panel has 36 silicon cells which convert the sun's energy into electricity. But they're wafer thin and barely visible from the side. Oh. What you can see is the glass, which is there to protect the cells from the sun's radiation and indelicate handling.
Next up, the solar thermal panel. These are specifically designed to use the sun's energy to warm water at a much lower tech.
Good stuff.
So what have we got here? We've got a double-glazed, transparent layer made of some kind of plastic which lets the sunlight in.
You've got an air gap of about 20 to 30 mil, an aluminium plate painted black to absorb the heat.
Sandwiched between two of these aluminium layers is the pipework through which the water's circulated, absorbing the heat.
And all the energy is coming this way, so at the back you've got an insulation layer of silverback liner. It's brilliant, so it's going to get really warm on the inside.
And the water can be recirculated out of the panel to, for example, preheat the water in your hot water tank. It's brilliant.
Another very visible form of renewable energy is wind power. Britain is Europe's windiest country, and we don't mean Johnny. The UK's government is buying into wind power in a big way. They're planning to spend £1.5 billion building one of the world's biggest wind farms in the Thames estuary. It's all part of a plan to have 10% of the UK's energy needs supplied by renewable sources by 2010. And where there's wind, there's waves. And here too we can find power.
But how do you harness that power? Well, look no further. We're going to build ourselves our own wave power generator using this float, some construction material,
and more importantly, this tube, which has a coil of copper wire around the outside and a magnet inside. Now, as the magnet passes through the coil, it generates an electric current. So hopefully, when it's out there bobbing around, we're going to get a current flowing through the wire.
The two ends of the coil will be attached to this capacitor, which will hold the current to light this little LED. Watch this. And there it is, our very own wave power generator. Now it's time to test it.
Surf's up, dude. What are we waiting for?
Let's go! You said surf's up. It's not exactly Hawaii, man.
Well, granted, it's not the perfect storm, but I think you'll find that even in these conditions, there's a lot of energy in those little waves. We'll test it, and I think we'll find that out. Okay?
Show me.
Despite the minimal wave action, the buffeting the boys' machine got was enough to rock the magnet back and forth through the coil.
Yes! I think we've hit an energy-rich patch, Johnny.
Go. And after just 40 moves, Richard and Johnny decided to test it.
Disaster strikes! Oh no, the brave new world is no more.
Will it work? Will it work?
OK, Rich, the moment of truth. Has the capacitor stored enough energy to light our bulb? Would you like to make contact?
Light!
Hey!
It works!
There you go.
Now just imagine the amount of power we could harness if we scaled this up massively.
This is how the professionals do it with a full-size wave power generator. It's on the Isle of Islay in Scotland. It's called the Limpet, and it uses the movement of the sea to push air into and suck air out of a large pipe to drive a turbine. Others resist the motion of the ocean using hydraulic rams to create power. In theory, waves could provide the world's energy many times over, so there's huge potential in this technology. Whether you live in a mud hut or a mansion, there's no excuse for wasting power. So we've invited green lifestyle guru Joanna Yarrow to give us some advice on what the typical household can do to reduce its electricity bills.
Come on, Joanna.
Thank you.
Richard, this is Joanna.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
Hi.
Welcome to our humble abode. What do you think?
Not as green as it could be, I don't think.
Oh.
Number one, here, your heating. 25 degrees. Turn that down to 20 straight away. Every degree that you turn it down will cut your heating bill by 10%.
Wow.
How many bulbs have you got in here?
A lot.
What I'd like you to do is switch each of those straight away to a low energy bulb because they'll use about a fifth of the energy, last 12 times as long. Every year, each bulb will save you about £10.
Throwing money away.
You are £100 during the course of lifetime of each of those bulbs you're wasting.
Oh, I can't believe this.
And another thing, these little red lights here. Appliances on standby, they will be using up to 85% of the energy as if they were just left switched on. So turn them all off properly. And if everyone in Britain did that, we'd save enough energy to power all the street lights in Britain. Right, kitchen. This can be the most energy-hungry part of the house because you've got so many gadgets in here. And some of the big guzzlers are your fridge freezer and your washer and tumble dryer. -21 for your freezer. It doesn't need to be that cold.
No.
Other thing is, pull it out from the wall a bit so that the heat at the back has got room to escape and it won't have to work so hard. And another thing you could try is a gadget called a saver plug, which you basically plug into the wall, plug the fridge into that, and it'll only let as much energy through as the fridge actually needs at that moment. Now, there's one thing that you could use to keep an eye on all your energy use. It's something like this. This is a smart meter, and what this does is it measures the amount of electricity you're using at any time in your home, and it shows you how many pence per hour you're spending. So at the moment, you're spending nearly 20 pence an hour on electricity.
Now that's nifty.
So if you want to understand where all your energy is going in the house and why your bills are so high, you can go around and turn things on and off, and this will show you what's going on behind your back.
So we just had to put this gadget to the test. First, we switched everything off, with the exception of the boiler and the freezer. And as it turns out, these two appliances alone are costing us 2.3 pence an hour. Next, we switched on the plugs to the DVD, the TV, the VHS and the hi-fi. And even on standby, this added nearly a penny an hour to our bill. This might not sound like much, but 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, this adds up to over £80 worth of electricity.
Turning on the TV adds another 3 pence. But the big killer in the lounge is the spots. These cost a whopping 4 pence an hour. And when they're on for an average of 4 hours a day, every day, that's nearly £60 a year. Add the kitchen lights, and we're looking at spending over £120 a year on downstairs lighting alone.
Now, this is only a small sample of the electrical appliances we use every day, but it does clearly show where the money's going. And once you know that, it's easy to make the changes that count.
Earlier, we saw how environmentally friendly power is being produced using the sun, the wind and the waves. But there's one major source of totally sustainable power that we haven't yet touched, and that's the human body.
The next big thing could be something called energy harvesting, which is converting movement in the world around us into electricity.
So, in theory, you could take the vibrations made by hundreds of commuters running across a platform and convert that movement into power.
And what about soldiers marching up and down and running round doing all that training? They could have devices fitted into their boots that would convert some of that motion into useful electricity. Sounds far-fetched. Well, the American military are already working on it.
Or how about traffic lights powered by cars running over speed bumps?
However,
Some of these technologies are in the early stages of development, but the possibilities are endless.
On the other hand, more direct human-powered electrical equipment is already available. So who better to visit than Trevor Bayliss, the world-famous inventor of the wind-up radio?
Trevor, it's an honour to meet you. And
Likewise, Trevor.
your name will always be synonymous with wind-up technologies.
Can you believe this? Eh?
Could you talk us through how it all started?
Well, it was pure chance, you know, watching a programme about the spread of HIV/AIDS in Africa. Then I heard that, in fact, most of Africa doesn't have electricity. The only other form of electricity was in the form of batteries, which were horrendously expensive. And so now I'm thinking there, and I can see myself in colonial Africa, right? I'm wearing a pith helmet, I've got a gin and tonic in my left hand, and I'm listening to some raunchy number on my wind-up gramophone.
Oh, yeah, Trevor, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm enjoying
And
this.
now I'm thinking to myself, now, hang on, Trev. If you can get all that noise by dragging a rusty nail around a piece of old Bakelite using a spring, surely there must be enough power in that spring to drive a radio.
So what he did was, he took a DC motor like this one, attached it to a hand drill in a vise, because when you wind a DC motor in reverse, it becomes a dynamo, producing an electric current.
So for demonstration, we've attached it to a light bulb here, so when Johnny cranks that handle, it should produce enough power to light it. Go on, mate, go on.
Bingo, it's working.
So it works with a bulb. Now let's see if the boys can wire their hand-cranked dyno to a radio and get that bursting into life. While Johnny rests his spinning arm, Richard does the soldering.
And once he'd got it connected, Trevor knew that if he could generate even a small bark of sound from his radio, he could realise his dream of producing the world's first wind-up radio.
Good luck, mate.
Right, here we go. That is working.
Having proved the theory, all Trevor had to do was find a suitable spring to first store and then slowly release that hand-cranked power. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So this got us thinking, if it's possible to build a human-powered radio, what about a human-powered television?
Or even a human-powered home cinema system.
Now that's a great idea.
The only problem with running a home cinema like this is you need a steady 250 watts, and that's serious power. It's fortunate then that the boys have got some serious kit to help them out.
So, we've got two mountain bikes here, driving this roller and via these pulleys, this car alternator. Now this produces 12 volts DC, but we need 240 volts AC. So, before getting to the projector, it goes through this AC-DC inverter. Now this alternator is capable of producing half a kilowatt, that's 500 watts. And the projector needs 250 watts, so in theory we're laughing. However, it all depends on Richard and I being able to generate that amount of energy, which, looking at us, is debatable.
Now this is the big one. Johnny, you ready?
I think so.
You steady?
Sort of.
Okay, let's go.
All right, nice and steady then.
Now this is a much tougher task than the boys first thought. To get the projector bulb to light up, they need to keep pumping out a steady 250 watts worth of power for at least 10 seconds. This might not sound much, but believe me, it isn't easy.
The light's on. Oh, it's on.
Brilliant, it's working!
Come on, lads, put your backs into it. Get
Come on, you can do it!
That's it. See what you can achieve when you put your mind to it?
See you next time.
Breathe. Oh, no, that's it.
That's all from this green special. Join Richard and Johnny again soon for more fascinating facts and revelations.
Was I seeing things?
No, it worked.
Graham, it's on fire.
Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, and cut there.